That's it. 30 seconds. And there's a little delay, so I feel like I'm kind of special ed looking down. Wow, I should be looking up, so I apologize. But I'm definitely putting things public in spaces where they need to be public. So, welcome to Free Thinkers. What's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday. We had a little off week last week, which was nice and necessary. Kevin, I was thinking about you all week. I swear to God. I was like, where has Kevin been? Did I run him off with my Trump shenanigans? Like, where did Kevin go? I'm so happy to see you in the comments, Kevin. I was literally wondering all week.
Scared him away with you. You scared him away with your Trump rhetoric.
I was wondering. I was like, I know I didn't hurt his feelings. I know he's not feeling some type of
You
way.
might have. Trump supporters are very sensitive. It's possible.
I mean, anything is possible. Anything is very possible. But I don't take Kevin as the so sensitive. He would just not, come
You
back
said
to
the wrong thing about Trump.
to the family.
Wrong thing about Trump, then that's it.
And people are definitely in their feelings about that one.
But see, that's the thing. He said,
What?
Oh, I see. I was poking at him. That's the thing where people don't understand. Like you'll never really be able to get me because I don't have a strong affiliation to anything, with the exception of my friends and family. I don't have a strong affiliation.
Right.
I don't lean hard politically, even religiously. I don't lean hard religious. So you can't really say anything that's going to offend me because half of the time it's just I'm not invested in it the way that a lot of people are.
Right.
For it to affect me.
So would you say that it's true statement then that you feel like you don't get offended easily?
Oh, absolutely not.
No, you don't get offended.
It's damn near impossible to offend. Only way you're gonna offend me, mess with my friends, mess with my family, and I'll be highly offended. Outside of that, you can't do much to. I mean, when have you seen me like strongly offended?
I mean, in the pushing 10 years that we've been doing this, like it's been very few times I've seen you get out of character. And I wouldn't even say out of character because I think when I've seen you bark in a way in which the bark happened, it was very warranted. So I don't think it was out of character. I think it was par for course based on the situation that took place.
I'm gonna tell you the last time recently I got strongly offended. I'm gonna tell you the last time recently I got strongly offended.
Okay.
When you made a statement.
Oh shit, me.
It wasn't even directly your statement. You were talking about some people were questioning the group Freethinkers and how
I knew it.
I've been holding on to that for like the last month or so. They're like highly, and not even about you. I'm like, where they at? Bring them on. Let's tell me how you cannot be religiously like any. If you subscribe to a religion or practice that you can't be a free thinker like that. I take offense to that.
I knew that too. I knew that at that moment. And so when you were like, who are these people?
Come on. Don't play this.
Since and I was wondering if we were ever going to talk about this, and I just kind of forgot about it. But do you know, since the conception of free thinkers, people have asked me that over the years. People who obviously were involved with us, Black Tea Talk, and some of the other like common spaces that a lot of us were sharing at, for a long period of time during COVID. There was a lot of, I mean, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but there was more than just a couple people who will be like, I love the concept, I love the idea of free thinkers, but like, that's weird that there's like, God talk and religious talk and like Christianity talk and like support of those things dialogue. And, for me, I always.
Okay. Ooh. Go ahead.
But for me, I've always been a neutral party, able to see where a lot of different perspectives come from. So, when I would be challenged with that statement, I always feel like I did a good job of explaining it, and being free thinking, there's a walk that it takes to be there. And I've said, from day one that the Q that I met, 10 plus years ago, definitely is the same Q, but it's not the same Q. There's a lot of parts of you that have changed in that time. So I think just being a person who's willing to be on a journey. Shit, you think so?
You know what I believe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Why am I loud? I sound really loud to myself right
See,
now.
I
But
feel like I don't sound loud enough at all.
okay,
So,
what
Kevin,
I
how does it
feel,
sound, Kevin?
yeah, if I'm super loud, let me know. I could turn this down, or
I
maybe
feel
it
like
could
you're
just be the
low,
headphones. That
actually.
it could. I might just be. I might have too much just volume in my ears, so I need to turn it down.
Well, and
But what
before you finish, I'm going to say, I just want to add
Mhm.
to what I didn't get to finish saying was that I think that when a person allows themselves, especially somebody who comes from a space in which you come from, which was a very organized place, right? Um, that I think that allowing yourself to be on a journey of exploring on my own and
Right.
looking outside of what was maybe born into me or told unto me, I think that that is very much an example of a free thinker. Otherwise it would be no holds barred. There would be no gray areas, there would be no growth, there would be no change.
Right. So
Holy shit,
what I
hold on, it's
think.
Haley?
What's that?
Hold on, real quick, hold on.
Oh shoot! Here, real quick, and then just disappeared on me. Let me take a sip of some. So until Nikki comes back, what I was going to two things I was going to say. Number one, I hope I don't have to repeat this. Hopefully she can hear me. I don't feel like I've changed a lot over the last 10 years. I could be wrong, but I don't feel like I've changed a lot. What I feel like is I'm more comfortable expressing myself. So even though a lot of my thoughts were similar 10 years ago, that didn't mean I felt comfortable expressing or articulating what I felt. And now I just think I'm much more of an open book. So for you to be open book, or what we talked about transparency a few weeks ago, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've had a change of thought, mind, deed, or action, but it's just you've decided to be more open about what your feelings are. So that's number one. Number two, I'll get back to my offense to the free thinkers. Now, in fairness to the free thinkers or the people who would question that, um, when Nikki and I started this group and agreed to the group, and we thought about a name, and Nikki proposed the name Free Thinkers. From my understanding, neither of us knew that the term was already allocated more so for atheist groups or atheist organizations or discussion groups. She just thought it was a dope name, and when she said the name, I'm like, oh yeah, that works perfectly. I really had no idea that was more the phrase free thinkers itself was more of an anti-religious title. So to give fairness to people who would question that, then if you've already assigned that name to kind of belong to something else, then I get it to some degree, but I just think the name the name itself, to me, I don't think it matches. And I'll get into that in a little bit. Now, what I will say also, there's two different things. You have the name that has an assignment to it. So, like I said, a lot of people looked at free thinkers as more of an anti-religious terminology that people would use when they branched away from Christianity, or any type of religion. That's number one. But then, go ahead. Oh, you ain't got no volume?
Your way, go get your goddamn cars out of the driveway. Oh my god, we
Oh,
are
they getting something on
pelted.
you. Oh, is is hell right now?
I had no idea where this shit came from. It sounds like a circus on top of the house. I
Oh
guarantee you
man,
it's gonna be damaged.
that's crazy. It's
Oh
on.
my
I
god.
guess it's on the way. Hopefully, it's probably on the way. Yeah, we got
Hey,
both
it's
of
come
our. I
your
just hope it don't do nothing to our roof.
way. I'm
I keep
sorry to
both of
jump off like
our cars. Both of our cars stay in the garage, so I don't.
okay, good.
I'm
Well,
good.
the
But yeah,
last hailstorm totaled my truck out, so it's in the garage now. I didn't have a garage at
I
that
mean, it
time.
depends. What you trying to do? You trying to get a check, or what you trying to do?
No, I
Leave it out there.
wasn't, but I
You
don't
know
mind
what?
paying. I don't mind paying it off though. Look, so somebody got my
You know
car
what I was thinking? I'm like, hold on.
yellow.
I might need to take my car, my old ass car. I might need to take it outside and
I
let
did.
somebody.
I definitely. No, I keep it in the garage now. That's not how I wanted to pay off my truck at all.
I'm like, you know what? Shoot, I might need it, but I only got liability, so I ain't gonna cover nothing on that old car. So what I was saying, Nikki, two things. In fairness to that group, when you presented the name, we started our own group. You presented the name to me, and we both agreed upon it. From my understanding, neither one of us knew or understood that phrase was kind of set aside for more anti-religious groups and discussion groups and stuff like that. Like it's more of an atheist term that we didn't know about. Is that right?
Well,
Or did you know about it?
I mean, I don't think that I really had a feeling about free
Where
thinking,
did you, when you said, let's say free thinkers, where did you hear the name from?
because that's still what I didn't. I don't know. I just
Okay.
know that we think freely in that space from where we were coming from.
Right. Okay.
And that's
Exactly.
what we wanted to
Exactly.
continue doing, was thinking freely. But
Right.
free thinkers generally does gravitate towards the populace of people who don't necessarily
So
have a
right.
foundational belief.
So that's my point. When we adopted that name, we just
Right.
liked the name because it fitted the type of conversation we were looking to have.
Right.
Versus in actuality, there was already groups that kind of designate that name for specific anti-religious, Christian, whatever it is.
Right.
That's the free thinkers was the term that was more commonly used to describe those group of people who branched away from organized religion. So my whole point is there's words that's attached to something that that carries a group meaning, and then it's just the meaning itself. So for instance, there's and a good example of this is Black Lives Matter. There's some people who were completely opposed to the organization Black Lives Matter because there's questionable stuff that was going on and questionable agendas attached to Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And if an educated person really ran down the reasons why they didn't rock with Black Lives Matter, then you'd be like, oh, okay, I kind of see it. But the term itself, some people could rally around that, like, okay, do Black Lives Matter or not? So I was in support of just the phrase itself without actually being in support of the quote unquote organization. It could be two different things. And that's the same thing on free thinkers, the organization, how people generally know it could be one thing, but just the term itself, being someone who thinks freely, it's kind of two different things. So I could get why someone who had that attached could question how we had, certain religious people or religious groups in a free thinkers group, because that's not what that name was generally assigned to. So I get it, but I still, so they may be arguing about, I think it's coming on my side too. I think that hell is coming on my side.
It is so bad, Q. Like I'm waiting for a window to break. I'm sorry. I'm trying to not be
Really?
distracted, but it is really bad.
I think I'm just
It is
starting it. I'm not covering
wild.
it
I mean,
heavy.
it literally came out of nowhere, as usual,
And
with this weather that they continue spraying us with.
and like yeah, and me and Nikki don't live that far from each other, so I know if it's on her side, then it's just a matter of time where it comes on my side too.
And I'm surprised it's still going. Like usually
Yeah.
hailstorms move in, move out, but this thing is like, no, we're gonna hang out for a while, make sure we break some windows, do some damage.
Yeah, I hope that ain't. Well, I got insurance. They're gonna have to cut me a check.
Everybody's trying to pay no deductibles right now.
But that's some of you. So does a group have the right to take ownership of the name? I guess that's a bigger question. Or just like gay, gay has one meaning now, when originally that wasn't the original meaning, but now they've taken it.
Right.
The rainbow, like the rainbow, it's been absolutely taken by a certain group of people, and anything else is like that's what it has to be associated with, and it's like, why?
Right.
I don't know. So I'm not sure about that. Like, can someone or can some group just take something for themselves and say this belongs to us now, and the original meaning or the actual meaning of it no longer is applicable?
I think that I think the word has the right to its ambiguity. So I feel like
Mm,
since it doesn't claim here nor there, right? And it can be to each person's perception, what their feeling of the word free thinker is, even if it's got a definition to it, I still believe 100% that what we do here, regardless of whether you have a spiritual background or a religious background, or I do, or the next person does, you still cannot say that what we do here is anything less than think freely. So I could take issue with it if we were fake about something, if we were presenting something that wasn't what the definition of those two words is, thinking freely.
right. And the name itself is pretty cut and dry.
So
Like,
when people ask me, "Oh, what is the group about?" I'm like, "Well, it's called Free Thinkers. What does that sound like to you?" And that's literally how I've been leaving it ever since we came up
right,
with the name. Like, you tell
right,
me what you think Free Thinkers is, and then that's basically what we are. So if you think it's this, and that's what it is. If you think it's this, it's that too. It's all of those things, because it's not,
right,
nothing's excluded. Like,
right.
no, it's just about thinking
And
outside
I
the
don't, and
box.
that's the other thing. I don't, if we said we weren't gonna, because of this other group or movement that calls themselves free thinkers, that's attached to, it's more just an anti-religious thing versus what we do and what we talk about, which is everything. Like, what is a, I don't think there's a better name for what we do.
Right, right, literally.
There is, like, this is right. I can't, like, oh yeah, come up with something different. Nothing else. Free thinkers is exactly what it is we strive for.
Literally what it is.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with that. And I've never had a problem with being able to merge. I think that that's what makes this space the best. One of the best things about this
Agree.
space is that you got somebody who is die hard one way, right? And you got somebody who's die hard another way. And there isn't
Who
this,
die hard? I'm not die. Oh, hold on, I ain't die hard.
yes, you are. Yes, you are.
You think I'm die hard Christianity?
Not even, I don't even, I can't say that anymore, because you yourself have said that that's not something that you necessarily identify with, as more so a God follower, or somebody who believes that, the
Right.
Bible is the word of God, right? Whereas oftentimes in spaces where you and I
Ooh,
would
that
have
was a
to share a
conversation
room,
with free thinkers, the 3 and 2, where they asked about, is the Bible the word of God?
I
But
saw
anyway,
that. I saw that.
and
I think in
I just put yes.
most spaces where people like you and I have to share a space, it doesn't oftentimes go over very well. So I think that it allows people to come in regardless of where they are, regardless of what they believe, and be like, well, damn, someone's still going to hear me regardless of how I feel. So you cannot ever say that this is not a free thinking space, that this is not a think freely space. So I don't ever really define it. When people ask, what does it mean? I'm like, you tell me, what does the word free thinker sound like to you? That's what it is. That's what we do here.
And I guess my final argument was what that would be. If you have a quote unquote Christian who will defend the right to the core for an atheist or a Satanist to be able to say what they want and feel what they feel, and I'll be ready to fight for someone, or for a man to be able to speak on women matters, or a white guy to be able to speak on black, like, if a person is willing to go that far and willing to verbally fight someone else for the right to speak on something that they themselves don't even agree with, that's the definition of the promotion of free thinkers to me.
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree. And I think that the name really doesn't need much defining. I think that if you are a person with a brain and you hear the words free thinkers, that's what intrigues people first off rip. Ooh, free thinkers. Okay, what y'all be talking about? Everything. You name it, we talk about it.
Everything.
So no, so that's but
Um,
I knew when I said that night, I was
oh
like,
yeah,
oh, I was like, cute. That didn't sit right for Q.
I'm still look. I still want names. I'm like, who is it? Come on, come on,
I mean, but
come
you gotta
on
hang it. We've been
the
doing this,
show. And I'm not gonna, I ain't
7
gonna bite down nobody's throat. I really want to hear what you have to say.
Right, right. Well, maybe one day we'll revisit that too.
They're not gonna come on scared.
Most people don't. Usually that's how that works. It's always been that way. And that's just how it's always been.
Let me say something else to the people who rock with us and listen to us and follow us on the Facebook page. Don't be afraid to come on live. I've heard several people talk about how they're intimidated to come on just because we speak so emphatically and it seems like we know everything that we're talking about. We have become semi-professional talkers
Sure.
because we've been doing this for a long time. One thing that I don't believe in is trying to use my verbal skills to win an argument or to talk somebody down. I see this happen quite often in podcasts. People who are very articulate and they know how to they've mastered the process of getting their point across.
Mm-hmm.
Now, someone else, it's not that they have a less valid point. They're just not as skilled in communication.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes the person who's more skilled in communication seem like they have a more valid point when that's not the truth. Just because you talk real deep. Candace Owens, primary example. She is very skilled at talking.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mean that she be making sense all the time. It don't mean that all of her points are valid. It don't mean that all of her points are thorough. But if you were to be in a conversation with her, then you could get lost in the sauce because she's very masterful at talking.
Right.
But you got to be able to know the difference. It's
Right.
not, people get caught up in how a person says something and they say it so emphatic, so it must be more true than what no. I'm following the points. Even if you barely fumbling your words through, if you got a better point than the next person who's an A+ articulate speaker, I'd be like, no, I hear what they're saying. That makes sense. So my whole point is, don't feel intimidated just because we do this on a regular basis. Your thoughts and your points will be heard, and if they valid, then they valid. And we will give you the space to kind of work out your thoughts and how you want to say it. It take a little while, but we're not verbal bullies. I put it like that.
I like this. I hope I'm not a verbal bully. I certainly don't ever intend on being a verbal bully. I don't ever intend on being a bully ever.
No, we don't intend on. But the way like me and you go back and forth, me and Denise go back and forth since we've done this for years.
Right.
And that can be intimidating to people when they see like right off the rip that I've had people, how do y'all do that? Like how you can ask me a random question and then I can give you a 5-minute answer on, and they be like, I could never just come off the top and just answer random questions that I never heard before. Even on high IQ with me and my sister don't talk about we'll talk about the subject, but as far as our thoughts and what she's thinking and what I'm thinking, we never talk about that. It's just, and half of it, if she has questions, I don't know what she's gonna ask. And if I have questions, she don't know what I'm gonna ask. And it's just one, and that's what I enjoy, just what I'm thinking right off the top. Some people that frightens them to be like, you just gonna put me on the spot like that.
Right. And I'm sure that there is an element to how much we have spoken in public or how many people we've spoken in front of and just the variety of people that we've spoken to. I've been talking my entire life, professionally and for fun. So talking is not a scary space for me. Sometimes I do still get trippy when I get random messages or random DMs of somebody who I did not expect to ever fucking watch us. Be like, oh yeah, I saw you in your green tank top the other day. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. So sometimes you forget like just how many people do have access.
Oh my God. Shadow banning is crazy with us. I'm telling you, I've had so many people the next day be like, oh yeah, I was watching your show. I saw this. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Like the ticker says like 2 people watch it, and I will have so many people come to me. Oh yeah, I was watching you, and they tell me about the part of the show that they was. I'm like, how? It
Yeah.
says 2 people are watching, and it's like I have
Notification.
people stopping me all the time. I'm like, that's shadow ban, and it's crazy.
And it used to at least to tell us like we would get like a heads up of who was watching. Now I don't know about you, but I don't get no kind of notification when somebody's watching. Unless
Oh
somebody likes it,
yeah,
loves it, shares it, comments. I mean, which is why we asking y'all to let us know where
right.
you at. But
But
I've
I'm like, it's
heard that.
crazy to me. Like I'm like, I can't believe people who I never thought was like, oh yeah, I was watching your show yesterday. I'm like, okay,
I know.
like it's pretty crazy.
Well, and it'll never
Um,
not be flattering to me. It'll never not be like
right.
it's always
Mhm.
flattering to me when somebody says, oh, I listen to you and Q, or like I've even had people who are like, man, I need to have a conversation with that dude. And I'm like, well, come on to the show any
Come
Tuesday.
on, bring it. And I'm nice, especially the first time you come on. I'm real nice to you. I don't even challenge your opinions that hard when you first come on. I let you get comfortable, get your feet wet before I start digging in and challenge you.
No, I a couple weeks ago, somebody and we were talking about free thinkers, and he was like, "Have you ever sat and listened to you talk?" And I was like, "Yes, every day." I was like, "Every time it's over, though, I go back and I rewatch the show 2 or 3 times, if not more, if I need to." And he's like, "You're very intimidating to talk to," and I'm like, "No fucking way! Like, I'm not intimidating to talk to, but if that's what somebody is telling me, then obviously I have to validate that, whatever the dynamic is, like this person is like, oh my God, I don't,
Yeah,
I want to
I
jump
mean
in here and
you
have a
speak with a
conversation.
lot of passion. You speak with a lot of passion.
That's that Leo energy.
It gotta be. It gotta be. But I also think that, if you are a person who is on a journey of self-exploration of any sort, any type of healing journey, like you're gonna like these people are not being politically correct. These people are not like really holding no punches back. Like they're not staying away from uncomfortable topics. Like they're literally like talking about everything. And and that's why we have 80 people watching us when this thing is over. And it's like 3 people said hello. You know what I'm saying? It's like we know that people are listening, we know that people are watching, but come on the show. Come on. And
I
if
do hold a lot of punches though.
the
I'll be honest.
online
I hold quite a few.
last Tuesday. So next week is our last Tuesday. So we have our in
Oh
person.
yeah.
Like if in 512, come to our in person. If you don't want to be recorded, we have one Tuesday out of the month where there's no recording happening at all. So nobody knows you're there. Nobody knows your thoughts. Nobody, like nothing's posted online. Like, we post pictures or whatever. Those of us, we get food and hang out and, shit like that. But come to the in person if you don't want to be online. Like, there's just no reason to not engage in conversation that your ass want to
Oh
engage
yeah.
with. It's too scared to jump on this
Right.
computer and do so.
Now, Nikki, this is what I say. I hold a moderate amount of punches while I'm online. Now we have the in-person meetup, then I'm not holding any punches then.
Oh,
I speak absolutely freely when the camera's not on. I've learned what I'm comfortable with as far as what I release out.
Right.
And certain things, content-wise, what I say,
right.
I'm gonna say what I want to say, but how I go about saying it, then I do filter that.
Right.
Now we live, then I'm not filtering anything. I mean, when we go in person, then I ain't filtering nothing. I cuss more than Nikki do when we get in person.
I'm looking forward to next week.
A good time. Well, I need to get this repellent because it's about that time. The mosquitoes gonna start being out now. I'm gonna get that repellent.
And we do, and we are still looking for some backup spaces. So if anybody's listening to us and has some suggestions of some local 512, preferably, central, north central.
I am gonna check out Genuine Joe's new spot to see how that looks. See if that's
nice.
That'll be dope.
And I know we can always get back over to Spinners. Like that's always been an open door, so no issue with that. We'll be at
That was fun last time we was there.
Yeah. So next week we'll be at the food truck. We'll be at Dirty Glove. So definitely follow the Facebook Free Thinkers page if you are not already. We'll have all the information coming up, obviously, as the week goes on. But we're definitely looking for another spot just because summertime is going to be 199 degrees and it is an outdoor pavilion. So it's totally, it's perfectly perfect in seasonable weather. It's covered. It's enclosed. I mean, there's chairs, there's tables. I mean, so it's straight, during the time of the year when
Right.
it's not 150 degrees, but it's about to get hot and it's not air conditioned. So
Right.
yeah, we are looking for
So
some
yeah,
spots. If anybody's got any suggestions of free locations that we can set up shop on one Tuesday night out of the month, definitely shoot Q or I a message, and would love to try to work something out.
Dang. Okay, we 45 minutes in and we ain't even start talking about it.
Oh,
I can't
and another
believe it's
thing,
8:45 already. That's pretty crazy.
I know some of the listeners are out there and you made a goal this year that you wanted to try some new things. You made it a goal this year that you were going to stop being fearful. You made it a goal this year that you were going to start being more social. Now's the time. That's all I'm saying.
That's right.
Yeah.
Come on out.
It's such
Come
a
on
different, like, oh my God, there's such a such a different energy when you're able to connect with people in person. It almost brings me a nostalgia. I feel sorry for my kids that they don't know what going to the mall on a Saturday morning is like. Like there's certain things that this generation has just lost that was
They'll never know.
just
They'll
can't
never
get
know.
it back. They'll never know.
Mhm.
And
Getting cute to
the
go to
amount
the
of memories
mall
that
to
they're
walk
missing now.
around.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
If you had $5, you was good for the whole afternoon. And don't let you have 10. Oh man, oh shoot. It was yeah, and just that everything, getting to meet people, talking to people, interacting, just it's so different now.
I feel like that's a good segue, right? Of
Let's
like,
go. Let's go.
if you knew better when you were younger, what are some things that you were younger? Like if you knew, or well, that's more so if you knew what you knew now. But like if you knew better, what are some things that maybe you would have changed or do more of or do less of in your youth?
Okay, this is a quick, easy one for me. If I knew that most of my peers were just as insecure as I was, I wouldn't have been so fearful with most of the stuff I did when it comes to talking to people, engaging with people,
Yeah.
going after goals, being more outspoken. As an adult, then I learned that, yeah, those same fears that I had of being judged or mislabeled, everybody had those same fears.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been so hesitant to speak to people or speak my mind or just be myself. Everybody's looking for ways to be themselves. And you look at everybody else like, oh man, they got it all together. They well dressed. They got their friends. But everybody was searching at that time. And if I knew that everybody was just as an emotional wreck as I was, I wouldn't have been so hesitant about most of the stuff that I did or said.
Wow.
Do you then use that experience and try to change that for your children then? Because I do in those situations. Do you?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that, yes, and it's like one of the things where so what my goal is to expedite the process for my children. So some of the things that it took me to my late 20s to learn. It took my parents to their late 30s before they learned it. So they knew the best that they knew, and they were able to teach me some things a little bit earlier than what they learned it. And my goal is to teach my children earlier than me learning it. Like the earlier I can teach you and show you this, then the better off you'll be. So and one of the things that I even have planned within the next week or two, I'm just going to take my son out and get him. I need him to just learn how to introduce himself and talk to random strangers that you don't know. So we're going to go spend a Saturday and just like, I'm going to show you what it looks like to just make a friend with a random stranger. That's a skill and an art that if you learn it earlier, it'll be so beneficial for you that you don't have to be hesitant. And my whole point, and this is what I even did in the sales. Okay, some people may look at you weird. Some people may reject you. That's all a part of the process.
Right.
And I want you to see what that looks like and know how to handle it gracefully.
Well, and that's what the key thing.
Once you have it, then you'll be comfortable in any space, any area. You can always make a friend no matter where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Yo, I wish you were my dad, Q. Because
we all wish we were our parents, you know, as we age now. Like
Q, that is a life changer. Like I'm just not. So it's funny that you mentioned that, right? About like you wish you knew that when you were younger, like that, you know, that much younger. I'm finding this out maybe maybe 3 years ago. When I went to a party as a grown woman where they're selling adult beverages, and I'm telling everybody because I'm drunk, because I need to get drunk to go because I had social anxiety. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Like, I don't really go to these things. And almost everyone I talked to told me that they felt the same way, even as an adult. So it's interesting that we all have that kind of thing. I'm like, what if people think I'm weird? What if I'm talking too much? What if I don't know what to say? What if I'm awkward? And we're all kind of feeling that way. And so it's like the earlier, like you said, the earlier you know that, and you can just like move through it. Like that's almost like that is wealth on a level that
yes.
Yeah.
You can make anything happen.
Yeah.
If you can get past that barrier.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah.
He's A1. He's good. Like he's to the moon. You know what I mean? Like this is good.
I think for me, I think that's been one of my favorite parts about having children who are not little anymore. Like I loved them all. Like I've literally just been raising kids since 1996. There's always been one more coming behind the other ones, but now they're all 28, 18, and 15. So I've got 2 adult children and I've got one who's just about to be there. And they're all 3 totally different kids. You know, and of course the boys are the younger. My daughter, Cassia, she's the oldest. So having that relationship with an adult woman as my child, like it's so joyous now doing it again with my son being 18, growing him into a man. And y'all know my space, you know, where, you know what our situation is, right? And I've always felt like I'm going to fail them left and right, because there's just certain things there's just certain things I can't give them. But I see in my children them being light years ahead of where I was at their age. And not because my parents did a poor job, because I think my parents did a great fucking job. I just think that they came from a different era. They weren't talked to either. So it's like, you know, and it took me, I think, just working with my dad for 25 years professionally to see how the healing world works, to see how he had to implement this whole 12-step recovery system of fixing something that's fucking broken and not using drugs or alcohol to do that, like to actually have to feel your feelings. They didn't know shit until they got sober and learned that there's another way to fucking deal with stuff. And so then just by omission, me absorbing all of that throughout my whole entire life, it's just forced me to, one, break all the fucking generational curses that there possibly are in our family, but making sure that whatever happened between that disconnect of communication is not even able to be born between my children and I. And I don't think that I insert myself into spaces that I don't belong. I don't do things that break their privacy. But I tell them everything that they need to know, because I feel like I was so not prepared. And I didn't think that I was not prepared until I got old enough to realize I was not fucking prepared. And you know, I've been saying so for years on a couple of different shows that we do that, you know, I being divorced at 36, 37 years old after 17 years, that's life changing. But like, how many people didn't start coming into who I am until they're in their late fucking 30s? Like, we shouldn't have to have spent our teens, our 20s, and our 30s fucking up, touching fire, burning ourselves a couple times, you know what I'm saying? to learn that, oh, there's another way to do this. Like, we shouldn't have to fight our way out after we've gotten into so much shit because we just didn't know. That I'm like, I don't want my kids to have to go through that. Like, of course they're going to touch fire. Of course they're going to crash and burn. But if I can try to prepare them with some of the things that don't know, because they just don't know when you only know what you know.
Ooh.
It is the most joyous fucking part of parenting, is being able to put that into their space and watch them grow on that.
Yeah.
So do better.
One of the things that I was gonna say, one of the things, because you can't always prevent your children from going into experiencing the fire.
Sure.
And some people make the mistake of trying to, well, I want you to avoid it. Some things can't be avoided. Some things they have to go through themselves.
Right.
But one of the things that you can do is give them the information so that they can identify while they're in the fire.
Yeah.
So when they get in the fire, then it's like, oh, see, my dad told me this.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to go some things they're gonna have to go themselves.
Absolutely.
But are they gonna have the tools while they're in the fire to know how to navigate themselves out of it? And that's where you wanna, it's a fine line between you helping, showing, sharing with
and
your
shielding.
child.
Yeah.
So that when they get in this situation, they can identify where they're at. And they'll be like, oh, my dad told me about it. He sure did tell me about this. And then they can start navigating themselves. Or it opens the door for them to reach out to you because you've already shown them what's going to happen. And like, hey, Dad, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. I know you kind of told me, X, Y, and Z. So everything is not to keep a child out of the fire, keep them from the fire. Some things they will have to go through themselves, but equip them that once they get in the fire, that they'll have the tools to navigate out of it. That's my thought.
Agree.
I would say one thing that I wish I knew while I was younger is how much of a strength vulnerability is, how much freedom vulnerability gives you, and how much it requires like bravery and actually makes you more brave when you practice it. If I knew that.
How about to make this an emotional show?
Even maybe 5 years ago, you know what I mean? Like it has changed the game. Even it makes you a better performer. Even you know what I mean? It makes you better in relationships. It makes you better in friendships. It makes you better on your job to just be able to say, "Hey, I don't know," or be able to say, "Hey, this thing really hurt my feelings," or be able to say, "I feel really dumb about this."
Denise. How old? Well, and I know it's different for men and women, but how old were you before you could tell someone what you said, what you did hurt my feelings?
Oh, honey, this had to be within the last.
And I'm guessing wherever you are, add an extra 7 to 10 years for a man to be able to say, "Hey, that hurt me." And probably more than half of the men I know are not able to even say that right now. Like, what you did that actually hurt me.
No.
Oh,
I
yes.
feel like I feel like recently. I mean, when I say recently, I mean within the last 2 to 3 years was where I've got to the point where I could say that, not act out of anger and being mad, but just be able to clearly sit in my sadness.
Hey, that hurt me. It could have been maybe within the last 5 years that I could say that I was comfortable saying that to a person. And like I said, more than half of the men I know do not have that ability. So when you talk about the power of vulnerability, golly, I know what you mean.
I love vulnerability. And as I'm sitting here listening to you talk, Denise, I'm wondering who made us be that way, right? Because who shamed us? What part of society shamed us into thinking that owning our feelings is a bad thing, or discussing how we feel is like
our parents,
But I and I don't
society,
like.
and
I
even
don't.
hold on,
I my
even if
parents.
it
I
wasn't
know my
parents
parents.
by, even if it wasn't by verbally what they said, by their example,
Responses, right?
right? Just by their example, even if they didn't say, you never heard them say it, so you didn't think your parents, especially like your dad or something like that. Do they even have feelings? Can a
Right.
man cry? Some men wonder, can a man even cry outside of a funeral?
Right.
We don't see men cry. And oh my God, and the men that we see cry, we look at them like they're weak.
Mm.
I was gonna say too, I don't my daughter's about to turn 8 and I don't think she's ever seen me cry. But we've had to talk about it because I tell her all the time, Mommy cries. And she's like, but I've never seen you cry. And I'm like, but Mommy does cry. Mommy gets sad and Mommy cries. So when she's upset, I try to tell her, hey, everybody, even grown-ups, get sad and cry. But the other day she said, Mommy, I've never seen you cry. And I'm like, Mommy does cry, but I would want to tell her, don't nobody see Mommy cry. But Mommy does cry, but I think even that example of like, yeah, you tell me you cry, but like I've never seen you cry.
Can I ask y'all as parents, where's the boundary with crying in front of your kids? And is it healthy to not do? You know what I mean? Like to not show that aspect of yourself. But then there's like, I remember the first time I saw my mom cry. I was like 11. And it was, I'm not going to lie, it was heartbreaking. And it made me grow up like in that moment. And it was partially the circumstance. Like my mom had just gotten married and my stepdad, like not too long after they got married, landed himself in jail. And she was explaining to me that, well, she had explained it to me before, but he had relapsed because he had a drug problem. And it was so fresh into their marriage that she went into the trunk to put groceries in the trunk. And it was a lot of the wedding stuff in the trunk. And I just saw her break down. And that was a lot. Now, I don't know if the circumstances were different. Would my response to that be different? But it is hard seeing your parents cry as a kid, but shouldn't you see your parents cry though?
Okay, I'll just say for me quickly, it's tricky because I can cut myself or something around my kids and they are so emotionally distraught for me. That doesn't feel healthy for me. Like I'm the one supposed to take care of you.
Yeah.
So if I seem like I don't have control or I'm crying or weeping, then I switch you from the position of the child to the parent trying to take care of me. And I don't want that. I want you to feel like I'm here to take care of you. So I don't know. Then maybe there's an age where it's more appropriate
Yeah.
to show more emotion. I don't feel like it's when they're small though.
Yeah.
But maybe as they get older, I could see a space for it.
Ooh. Nikki, Q?
So
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think I've ever cried, and I'm trying to think of a time that I cried in front of my kids, and I don't think I have. Or the time that I did, the one time that I definitely know that I don't think that they see me, because the one time that I know I cried was when my ex-wife was telling my then 2007, 8-year-old son that we were getting a divorce. And he broke down in a way. Seeing him cry made me cry.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he actually saw me because he was crying.
Yeah.
And that's something I'll never forget that. That's
He
something
won't,
that I never ever forget.
he won't either. He,
Yeah.
he will forever remember that day that he seen his daddy cry, or he think he saw his daddy cry for the first time. And that's a moment that you all needed at that time. I'm a firm believer in doing things age appropriate, right? All things is not for children. All things is not for children at all ages, right? Conversations, people, situations, all of those things. But crying is a human emotion. Too often we are shamed for crying. Too often we are guilted into how we feel. Too often our feelings are not validated. You think about all the reasons why we're in therapy at 30 and 40 years old now, right? Is all because human emotions have been oppressed, manipulated, used as a weapon, right? In some form of fashion. And unfortunately, if it came from a toxic parent, unfortunately, if it came from a wounded parent, unfortunately, if it came from a space that was not well, we lack those tools to be able to process those emotions properly. So do I think that just crying all the time in front of your kids is good? No, I don't. I definitely do not. You need to get some fucking help. And all things are not for children. But I think that
Yeah.
there are absolutely critical moments where it is okay for your children to just see that you're a fucking human.
Yeah.
It hurts. And I'm sad and I'm scared and I'm overwhelmed and I don't feel good and I'm lonely and I don't know how I feel, but it's so much that this is the response. It's leaving my body in the form of tears. I could drink it away, I could smoke it away, I could fuck it away, I could fight it away, I could sleep it away, I could antidepressant it away, I could do all kind of things. But I choose to just let my body do what it needs to do, and that's just to get rid of this right now. We talk
So I'm
about it.
thinking about what Denise actually just said. Like, is it more? It's one thing to tell, like Ivory said, it's one thing to tell you, oh yeah, mommy cries, this and this and that. But if they don't actually see it, do they actually does it kind of, can they really relate to it? Does it actually compute what you're saying if they never see the actual example? Because you could say one thing, but if they don't ever see it, so
Don't know what sad looks like to you. You've never shown them that emotion. But and I say this coming
and
from
just
somebody
to say it may not be enough. So there may be a certain age, like Ivory said, there may be a certain age that you can't just suck it up. And even to give you a simple example, even like what I was just talking about was something very emotional, and I'm like, in case I break down, let me cut this camera. Let me cut this camera off.
That. I said we're talking about
y'all
being
not gonna see
express emotions, and as soon as Quinn felt an emotion, he turned that
natural response. Like, no, I ain't gonna let you see it. Let me cut this camera off real quick, just in case.
But that
I'm going back to Denise. I don't know if that's where's the line of what's healthy.
So
and
okay, so
not.
to your point, Q. If boys don't see men cry, then how are they ever supposed to know it's okay to cry? How are they ever supposed to say, I am sad, you hurt my feelings, if they've never seen a man say, God damn, my feelings is hurt. And I'm showing it in the form of crying as opposed to lashing out or fighting or going into silence mode or, whatever the case may be. Right. This is coming from somebody who has the 3 oldest children on this panel, right? Again, I've got a 28-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 15-year-old. I've been doing this a long time. Right. There will never be a day I hide my tears from my children. We have worked through a lot of miracles in the last 5 years since my dad has passed. As a unit, it is nobody but the 4 of us. And nobody but the 4 of us have each other like the 4 of us. So it is okay to cry. Do I sometimes worry that they may feel overwhelmed by my emotions? Well, of course, but I'm not boo-hooing and losing my fucking mind either, right? Like I know where to put that and where not to put that. Right. But they told me we were at the movie Sinners. I'm sitting there and there's a part that just got to my spirit and I couldn't help it.
I know the part you're talking about too.
I started fucking
hold on, I ain't watched it. Don't say nothing.
I'm going this weekend.
I start crying. My son looks over. He's like, "You crying, aren't you?" I said, "You know I'm crying." So it's become a tool where it's okay to cry You don't have to be ashamed. It's not a weakness to fucking cry. There is a strength in crying. There's power in showing vulnerability. There is a bond that happens when you can be so real that I can't even cover this up. But if you're not having conversations about what those emotions are, if you don't prepare them with those tools to be able to process that stuff, then you've got anxiety-driven children. You've got children trying to parent their parents. You've got some really dysfunctional roles being taking place. But it also allows my children to say to me, Mom, you hurt my feelings. And be like, oh shit, okay. Or Mom, I don't like the way that you said this. Or I don't like the way that you did this. It allows for us to be able to have that conversation. If I legitimately hurt your feelings, I need to apologize. Because that's the last thing I want to do. So you can have conversations about emotions that you normally wouldn't have had because it's safe now in your family to have those conversations. We've all shed tears.
But not just that. I think to see for your children to see you cry when the time calls for it, but to see you work through that as well.
That part.
Like, okay, so you see the tears. You
that part.
The tears.
That part.
Okay, how do we move forward from this?
What
do we learn from this?
That part.
How do we, overcome whatever situation has us down? So yes, I think I'm learning a lot right now. So it's like, let them see the full process of
Absolutely.
That's good. And you know what?
Now, hold on. I just say this on a side note. I'll stick to my look. You got twice as a man, you got twice a year to cry.
Oh my!
You get 2 times.
No.
Q, we were just having a breakthrough.
Listen, I don't think that's just a man thing. I would give a lady 4 or 5.
We're not crying every other week. You get twice a year.
I only give ladies about 4 or 5 times a year myself. So I mean, I know your man rule is twice. Women got about 5.
What? No, listen. Viewership. Ignore everything you just heard for the last 30 seconds.
No, look, twice. Man, you got twice. If you need to cry outside them 2 times, then it could be a church.
Quinn, maybe we giving a testament to how we was raised. You over here giving men twice.
Listen, I
giving the ladies 5 times. This might be a household
problem. If you cry
problem.
every other week, a woman is going to, her respect is going to diminish for you. If you're crying, if they see you breaking down crying every other week, their respect is going to diminish for you.
Yeah, I could.
That's twice.
But listen, this is the thing. That's not just a man thing. If you as a woman cry every other week, your partner, even your children, anybody, your tears don't mean as much if you cry a lot.
I agree.
Now, you should be able to cry sometime though, for sure.
To the closet.
But I'm just saying, you can't cry every time. You can't. Every time something go wrong is not the time to bust out in tears in front of people. It's just not. But there are.
I cry more than twice a year. I cry more than twice a year, just not in front of people.
Oh, for sure.
To the closet,
oh my God.
Go to my own space.
I definitely cry in the closet a lot, but I do have moments I cry in front of people.
We got Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna say
y'all totally backslid on that, but no, I
backslid.
I have a shallow thing about crying that I don't like too.
Your cry face?
No, I don't even know what it looked like. I try not to look at it. When you're crying, it's really hard to communicate. That drives me nuts. Like, I still have something that I'm trying to say, and then I start feeling teary, and I know I'm not going to be able to get it out anymore. Oh my gosh. And I know that's shallow, but like, I like to be able to like say the thing I was trying to say and like get it out. And then you start crying, it gets stuck in your throat. It just, it's just, the whole thing is just, I know it's shallow.
You got to embrace everything about the cry. Listen, let me tell y'all something. It's okay to go to Cry Fest, y'all. If you're listening and you need to go to Cry Fest, you need to get a ticket to Cry Fest. You get your ticket to Cry Fest. Like, I will cry.
You get a ticket
right
in March
now.
and you get a ticket in September. That's it.
No, you get a ticket to Cry Fest whenever you need to go to Cry Fest. Like, I won't cry because I'm happy. Like, I mean, it is.
I'll cry
good.
when I'm happy.
Hey, happy tears are acceptable. Happy
I
tears are
cry a lot
acceptable.
for being happy.
Listen, there's no shame.
I cry when I tell stories that are exciting to me. I cry
Really?
just out of excitement. Yes.
Listen, there's no shame in going to Cry Fest. Okay, y'all? There's no shame in that. And in fact, I want to give Q his credit, even though he backslid a little bit this last like 2 minutes. But like, y'all, for the viewership that watches, y'all know Q, y'all understand his personality at this point. He's a very masculine man, right? And so, like, he's outspoken. He says what he needs to do. He takes care of his family. Like, he's a man's man, right? And so I just think that it's beautiful, though, at the same time, to be able to see someone who's a man's man, had a little throat, had the knot in the throat, have to go off camera for a quick little second, even though he didn't have to. But you know what I mean? Like,
I kind of did, but yeah.
But you don't know how many people are freed from seeing that.
Right.
They might even be crying at home right now of just the sense of relief of being like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, like I can cry. This is okay. And like to your point, is like your kid seeing you go through the full process. And to like what Nikki was saying earlier, at least is my interpretation of it, is like explaining like where I'm at while I'm crying. Like, these are the things that are going on with me. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm trying to process. It's like really giving people a clear understanding, and you having a clear understanding yourself of why you're needing to process these things, you know, and the way that you need to process them. And maybe you don't always understand, but I think it's okay to cry, because if you don't do it in front of them and you tell them it's okay to do it, what they're going to do is they're going to go hide and do it. And there's a time and a place to cry by yourself, and there's a time and place to cry in front of other people. Now, here's my question I want to pose to the group, since we're on it like vulnerability journey. Now, this one's always hard for me. What were you about to say, Q? Something came up? No?
Yes. Let me ask quick.
What?
Is it okay? And I guess this goes to the parents, or you got nieces and nephews as well. So then my question becomes: is it ever okay, or is there ever an appropriate time to tell a child to suck it up?
Oh, my mom used to tell me that all the time.
I have a kid I tell to suck it up, and I go back and forth. I have moments where I'm like, is this good? And then okay. So I have two things going on in my brain with this particular chat. One thing going on in my brain is I want her to be, of course, emotionally healthy. I want her to be able to tell me her feelings without being afraid of me and all of these things. And I know some part of telling kids to suck it up is they might experience something real that needs to be communicated, and you told them to suck it up so many times. They do suck it up and just don't tell you. And so I worry about that. Now, what I worry about on the other end is having an emotionally fragile child who does not know how to deal with the world. And I feel like my primary responsibility as a parent is to prepare you to be an adult and deal with the world.
Right.
So when I see certain behaviors, I think I have to do something as your parent to prepare you with this personality to be a part of the world.
Oh, I gotta push back.
I'm just telling you that we're being vulnerable. So she's turning 6. She's about to turn 6. So this is I'm currently in this space right now where I'm trying to learn the balance between, hey, you got to get it together and tell mommy all about it, even though it's just about how your sock feels on your ankle. You hate the way the sock feels on your ankle. I mean,
right.
So this is what I think, right?
So Ivory, sometimes suck it up is too simple. Maybe suck it up is not the right word to use, but I know, but some people, I mean, in old school, they were like, "Hey, suck that up."
That's
You
what
know,
they
ain't no
say.
need to find this and that. But I don't think that was necessarily the right thing to say. But instead of you allowing your in some instances, allowing your emotions to take over versus hold on, let's think this through before you have this complete breakdown. Let's think about it. And can we use our mind to work through this versus resorting to our emotions every time that we feel a certain way? I think that's the difference between suck it up. So
Right.
maybe I don't say, well, suck it up. You ain't got no reason to be. Oh yeah, I understand how you feel. Let's think this through. Now that's not for every situation, but some situations you do want them to practice thinking through a situation versus looking for emotional support or help or because some of it goes to intent. Sometimes you'll find that kids or adults initially look for the sympathy more than they look for the solution.
Right.
And you want to manage that. That's my thought. But what are you gonna say, Denise?
I was gonna say a phrase that I like that I've heard parents use that it's almost similar to suck it up, but like kind of a different approach is like use your words.
I was gonna say that.
Right.
Yeah, because
right.
I think when kids default to crying is because maybe they don't have the words yet to express what's going on, or their default setting isn't words. Their default setting is expression in a different way. So if you can like get them to go like, when this happens, start to say what's going on, as opposed to just feeling all of it. You know what I mean?
You're right. It's a great idea. This one here has all the words and all the tears. So I mean, I get it. She's 5.
You talking about the older one or the younger one?
No, Mel. She's 5, reading at a 4th grade level. She got all the words. She knows
all the words, but like
she knows how to say, I'm feeling discouraged. I'm feeling stressed, Mommy. She knows the words. She knows all the words. But why is there so much stress around clothes and how they touch you? And I don't. But the words are plentiful. Words and tears. Words.
So she's giving both. She's not just crying.
She's giving
the full breakdown. Listen, that's going to come in handy later. Believe it or not, my mom used to call me a drama queen, okay? That is going to come in handy later. That's all I'm saying.
She be telling me I'm feeling discouraged.
That is so cute.
Okay, let's go a couple categories, and we kind of touching on this right now. Know better, do better. What is it about raising children? Had you known earlier, you would have did differently. Nikki, Denise, Ivory, go.
I would have been easier on my first daughter. I was a little hard. You didn't know. I mean, I had to figure it all out on her. So if I'd known better, I would have been a little more relaxed.
Have you told her that?
No, I haven't.
Do you think that would be helpful in any way? Because let me tell you this, with oldest daughter specifically, I've heard, y'all so hard on me. Y'all think it's so easy. And you know what I mean? Like it might be good to communicate that at some point.
Well,
that's
I think
good thought, Denise.
It is. I flipped it, when she was probably about 5 or 6. I let up some and use different language around what we were doing. Mommy just needs you to try hard. You don't have to be perfect, So I'm using the correct language with her now. But yeah, it's interesting if maybe we have a conversation about,
Has she noticed Has she
And that's one of the things that I've been
I think
just because my mother it may have been the last 6 or 7 years where she admits like, oh yeah, I wish I would have did this different with y'all. I wish I would have did that. I don't know if it would have made a difference if I would have heard her say that earlier. I don't know. Maybe. That's a good thought, Denise. I don't know.
Yeah.
But now since I have children and I'm going through the process, and anytime you the best mom in the world, I'm whatever you did, it was fine with me. But had I heard that maybe when I was still a teenager, anywhere from 12 to 19, maybe that would have helped. Maybe
I think
possibly.
it's helpful. My mom admitted to us one time when the house got repossessed, and like it was our first like Thanksgiving after everything went down. We had to put all our cats down. It was crazy times. But she had a breakdown and was just like basically feeling like she failed us. Right?
Yeah.
And that she wanted better for us, even though she could not give us the better that she wanted for us. And even as kids, we were like you're single mom, you were doing your best, like you were consoling her. But I think it is something to know that like, even though I wanted better for you and I didn't quite give you exactly what I wanted to give you, my heart was to do that. Just to hear that,
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so this is not exactly like raising kids, but starting a family. If you knew better, you do better. In what ways, I guess, the whole relationship, trying to start a family, marriage, just the whole ideal of that, if you would have had more tools, what would you have done differently, or how would the outcome of your life or that situation be different had you known better?
I can tell you this. I can tell you now that I know better in terms of the vulnerability piece and healing before entering into the next situation. Let me tell you something. When you are vulnerable with someone and you heal before you go into your next situation, it just fast tracks the next situation. Like, one, you're only going to attract healthy stuff. And two, like, it's going to be like, if the person is right and they're on your same frequency, y'all know I had broke up with my ex in September. I'm in a new relationship. Okay? I am in a new relationship with someone who loves me, that I love. Like, we're moving on. We're moving on.
Good.
I'm gonna have to call you. I'm gonna have to call you tomorrow, Denise. You ain't told me about this.
I'm deep in.
Did you just say you in love?
Just like that.
You said you in love?
I'm in love.
Oh yeah, we got to do a whole show.
I know that.
I ain't got no show. I got to call you. I got to call you.
Listen, if I had known long
I just want to hear about the love.
If I had known long ago that I don't have to hold on to that old stuff in order to protect myself for the new situation, and that I could just heal and move on, oh, honey, so many years I would have saved.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold on to that old shit. Does it try to rear its ugly head every now and then? Yes. Do I have to fight against that? Yes. But I don't have to behave like a person that's been hurt.
Right.
So even though you didn't say this, but I'm gonna attach kind of your sentiment to what what I learned, and I learned this early, late 30s. I don't know when I learned this, but if you look at relationships like experiences that you grow from, that every relationship that you have, it has its place, whether it's 2 months or 10 years. It has its place. One of the things I was like, whatever it's not a failure.
Mm.
It was an experience.
Oof.
When some
Oof.
people take relationships as it was a failure, how come this didn't work? Then you drag a F or a failure mindset along with you, and somehow you attach it to yourself, like I'm a failure or I'm a failure in relation. No, that relationship had its purpose. It had its lessons if you were able to glean from those lessons. But you don't attach it to yourself. That it was what it was in a vacuum. You learn from it, and you take the lessons that you've learned from previous relationships, and you bring the lessons into new relationships so that you don't repeat the same mistakes, or that you. But if you look at it like, oh, you just do it like the last person, or you like you're dragging baggage. It's a difference between dragging baggage and taking lessons with you. And one thing that I consistently say, in this lifetime, no matter how many relationships that you've been in, it's one relationship that was meant to last forever. So don't get hung up on all of the other relationships that you thought would be the forever relationships. It was just designed for one of them to be. The rest of them were just situations that had lessons attached to them. If you take that mindset, then you don't drag baggage. You don't look at yourself or relationships or your past or all men or all women like, all men are not dogs, all women are not this, all like, no, that was a situation, an experience, and a point of time that I learned from, that I took lessons from. And even in a bad relationship or a bad breakup, I can look at it positively because, listen, and Ivory know this, one of the worst relationships I ever had drug me through the mud. I appreciate that relationship so much.
Ooh-wee.
It changed it taught me. I'm so glad that I learned the lessons in that failed relationship versus having to learn those same failures in the relationship. Had I gone through a relationship now and had to learn those same lessons, it could have damaged or destroyed or did so much bad stuff in my current relationship. I'm glad that relationship back there learned the lesson so that I don't have to relearn it in the current relationship I'm in now. It's all the way that you look at it.
Perspective.
Anyway, that was my thought, but somebody else can jump in. I already know you know which one I'm talking about. Both of my sisters was like, y'all, why are you still with this girl? She crazy.
Crazy time. No, y'all. Listen, I'm not gonna go into this, but this is no wife. So y'all wouldn't believe Quentin would have been in the midst of this madness. Like, there's no way you would even believe that he would deal with what that looked like.
Yeah, that's how you know it's wild.
But let me tell you something. One thing I'll tell you. I had, and see, this is what I can say now. I had major self-esteem and jealousy issues that would have destroyed any relationship that I was in later down the road. That relationship broke me of all my jealousy. Like, I do not have a jealous bone in my body to this day because of that hellish relationship that I went through. God know what he doing. And he broke all of that out of me because I would have been a toxic human individual had I still had some of those traits in me that he used a bad relationship to break me out of some of the stuff that I needed to get out of me. And none of my other relationships, I know for a fact now, none of my other relationships would have worked had I still had some of that stuff up in me. You got it. It's the way that you look at it. I'm
that's how God works,
thankful
y'all.
about a terrible relationship that I went through for 4 years. I mean, I'm thankful.
That's how God works. You be thinking some stuff is like happening and it's to your detriment, but really God's really saving you for something later on down the road and protecting you from something. Like, that's the crazy thing about it. And so, like, to Q's point, it's all about your perspective. If I understood perspective, if I knew perspective long ago, it would just save me so much depression. It would save me some heartbreak. It would save me, feeling down on myself and like not understanding. If I just understood that there is a lesson in every single thing, and as long as I get that lesson, I'm not losing. If I just really really knew that and took that into my heart, I just feel like I wouldn't be pressed ever.
And if you could hold on to that in the moment, because while you're in the middle of it, you don't feel like there's a lesson to be learned. But you have to have the mindset that even though I don't understand what the lesson is, there is a lesson. There is something that's being purged out of me. I may not understand what it is right now, but know that there is something. There's a plan behind this. It may not be revealed at this moment, but it will be. So, keep the right mindset.
Okay, I have a quick one.
Let's go.
I would have, if I knew better, I would have enjoyed dating my husband more.
You would have enjoyed dating your husband more. Okay.
Did you have anxiety, Ivory, because you're like, is he too good to be true?
It was so much anxiety about is it perfect? Is it right? Is this too good to be true? Should I be harder on this stance or this? Okay, so this is where I think a lot of the anxiety came from very early. It's because we knew really early it was special. And like, oh my God, I might end up with this person, and I had just never had that before. But you're only like 3 or 4 months in.
Yeah.
So I feel like that just took my mind on like this crazy, like, I'm going to end up with you, then it needs to be like this, then it needs to be like this. And why do you do this like that? I went on like a kind of crazy train. And I just feel like I would have just enjoyed it more if I knew better, because it's so crazy. I was so black and white intense while we were dating that once we got married, he was like, oh my God, I loved you enough. I was going to accept her like that one. But this person, like, this is better than I could have ever dreamed. He's like, you're so relaxed. And I was so not relaxed while we were dating. So I would have just relaxed and had more fun.
Oh, that's a word right there, Ivory.
Yeah. I would have relaxed.
And on a side note, we had me and Ivory did a show about favorite 5 one time. We talked about relationships. Ivory and her spouses, they are in my top 5 of relationships that I'd see. And I'm talking about celebrities that I look at on the outside. I mentioned a couple celebrities. I'm like, but Ivory and her spouse, they are, I absolutely admire them. So yeah, they're so cute.
They do radiate that love though, like genuine love. Like just looking at the pictures.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so we already passed 90 minutes, but let's see if we can go another 10 15. Sex in general, wherever you want to go with this. What is it that if you knew better, then you do better at the time pertaining to sex?
Understand a person's intent on wanting to have sex with you.
Ooh,
like
intent.
Yeah, like, because it's like, okay, yeah, we everybody's horny, yeah, sure, but like,
right.
Sometimes I think a person's intent to want to have sex with you beyond like whatever sexual attraction, especially if it's a situationship, they just want to dump on you because they want to get whatever's off of them on you. And like, I think that like, if I had known that going into certain situations, I definitely would not have given myself to certain people if I knew I was going to get all that.
Right. That's a good one. No, like being more focused on a person's intent than just the sex itself. Anybody else? Nikki, Ivory?
I mean, I can't really say a whole lot in that. I mean, really in a lot of these departments, honestly, but certainly in the sex department, I think for me it would just have been, being more guarded. Had I made any changes to sexual behavior in the past, I wouldn't have my children. So it's hard for me to negotiate, what I would have done better, because if I would have done anything differently, I wouldn't have them. And I'm okay with where we are today. That I don't have any regrets. I don't have relationship regrets. I don't have end of relationship regrets. I don't have friendships that have severed regrets. As y'all were talking, I was trying to find on my page that I posted yesterday. Somebody had shared something, and I reposted it, and it says, "I really had no business letting some people experience me." And as I read that, I thought to myself, I'm so glad I can't say that. There isn't a person who I've allowed to experience me, whether it's romantically, whether it's platonically, whether it's, on any type of level. I don't regret anybody. And in situations where I may have stayed too long, I didn't know what my purpose was. That was my reason. So I'm forever grateful. So I think about, the last two relationships that I've been in, I really had no business being in either of them. But if I wasn't in one of them, I wouldn't have my children. If I wasn't in the one following him, I wouldn't be as fucking amazing as I am today. So I'm okay with having been burned. I'm okay with having been used. I'm okay with having been manipulated. I'm okay with having been cheated on. I'm okay with having been fucking lied to. I'm okay with having been embarrassed. I'm okay with all of those things because that was my lesson. Now, those types of things will never, ever happen again. Because the way I move today, those things can't happen. I'm very guarded, but I'm still just as equally emotional and as equally vulnerable. I'm the queen of stalling people out. So I don't have sexual regrets with people. I don't have relationship regrets with people. The knew better, do better. Well, goddamn, the minute I knew better, I do better. I do. I do, and I keep doing, and I keep doing, and I keep doing, and I keep doing, and it just becomes normal processing at that point, and it works, and you see it continue to just keep on working. Doesn't mean bad shit don't happen. Doesn't mean that rejection is redirection, and if it ain't supposed to happen, it won't. And if it is, it is. If it's supposed to be mine, it'll be mine. It's just if you knew better, you would do better is a wonderful phrase for people who really want to do something better. Yeah. Right? If you really just about bullshit, knew better, do better is just something that sounds good.
Quinn, I can see her thought then is taking you somewhere, but I need to answer mine before.
Go ahead. You're going. No, I know where I'm going, but go ahead. It's totally different.
Okay, I'm trying to see if I can communicate this the way it's in my head. For sex, I feel like I would have detangled sooner. I feel like when you grow, I don't even want to say it's about growing up in church or being religious or whatever, but I just feel like it's so much exploration of yourself that you don't really get to unless you like
go
on
the same thing I was about to say in a different
unless
way.
You go, it's a journey you have to take yourself on.
Yeah.
And I felt like in the beginning of my relationship and marriage, I still hadn't it still took me a really long time to kind of untangle that. But of course, I mean, you can't do better until you know better. I wish I had went on the journey of knowing better sooner.
What do you mean by that when you say the journey of knowing better?
I say I needed to detangle the difference between, okay, so when you're single, all of this is like, this is sin, this is sin, this is sin, this is sin, And then once you're in a marriage and it's not sin anymore, it takes some detangling of, hey, was this thing I liked when I was single, and that's okay. Or this thing over here, that was some dysfunction. That's not, like, there was some detangling that needed to happen, but everything wasn't bad.
Right.
It was bad because of the circumstance, but it wasn't just bad. And so trying to figure out what was me, what I really liked, what was good, what was healthy desires, and what was that was a process that I went on later than I wish I would have. I wish I had went on it sooner. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, no, I know what you're saying, not directly what I'm saying, but it's in the same ballpark. This was what I was gonna say. I know better, knew better. If I knew that being a freak is not abnormal or unique or strange, then I would have adapted to it a long time ago. So there's certain things
I think that's what I was trying to say. You just, I tried to say it nice. Okay.
You took the high IQ approach.
maybe not all the way, but what I'm saying is, like, it's so I guess hindsight, if you don't know you're a freak now, I think something's wrong with you. Like, I think you're not totally in touch with yourself, your nature, your sexuality, so forth. Whereas when you're younger, oh no, they a freak. Like, if you're not a freak, something is wrong with you. Because everybody is or should be a quote unquote a freak to some degree. And if you're not, then that just means that you don't feel uncomfortable. You don't feel comfortable enough to actually explore what it is that you like or that you feel or what you don't like. Like, freak is not a bad word for me. Like, in hindsight, freak is a term of knowing yourself, knowing what you like, knowing what you don't like, being free enough to experience those parameters. And there's some people that I know who's scared to even ask the questions or see what they like or see what they don't like, or, oh no, I wouldn't do that. Have you tried it before? No. Well, are you sure that you don't like it? Like, how do you know? It's one of those, it's like kids, sushi. No. Have you ate sushi before? No. How do you know you don't like it? I don't know. You've told yourself you don't like something that you haven't even given yourself the chance to try. And in my later years, or my more mature years, number one, there's certain things that sexually, have you asked yourself why? See, there's certain things that you could present to me and I'm like, no, I wouldn't like that. And I know why I wouldn't like that. Like, okay, yeah, the smell of that will be weird. I already know I wouldn't like that. Or the there's certain this and that would turn me. I already know that I wouldn't like that. But there's certain things that just sound so freaky, and some people are pushed. Oh, no, that's wild. Okay, just because something was wild don't mean that you wouldn't like it. Has it gone past you just the initial response of how people would view you if you said you liked a certain thing? And if you haven't come to that conclusion yet, then you haven't really explored your desires yet. I can't. It's only so deep I can go without getting explicit, but I mean that's one of the things that I would say. And there's a lot of people that I run into. Oh no, I wouldn't like that. Like, how do you know? Are you sure? Anyway, That's
Tell
as far as I
God
go with that.
you try it.
Or at least have a reason why you know that you wouldn't like it. There are certain things that without trying, I know I wouldn't like. And there's certain things that, you know what?
Like
That sounds strange, but I don't know. And you know, so the issue that I have with a lot of people is, especially people in relationships, when they will turn down something that their partner has an idea of just because it sounds explicit.
Right.
I'm like, why? Why are you gonna turn that down just because you don't know? Like, I'm the type of person, if it doesn't completely turn me off and my partner wants to try it, I'm like, okay, that ain't my cup of tea, but hey, let's try. If you gonna get off on it, then I love to see you get off. Let's try it.
Well, and that's in most cases, assuming that there's obviously no, traumatic wounds, right? Because a lot of people who have aversions to sexuality, who are guarded around the type of sex that they have, meaning it can't be anything more than missionary. Like, we don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people who are very,
That's the
very,
devil.
very guarded around sex. They often too have come from a very controlled, indoctrinated environment from in which we want
Devil.
to talk
It's
about
the
sex
devil.
first of all. So we're certainly not going to talk about what could possibly feel good. But then you've
Right.
got a lot of people who come from, sexually abused spaces where, that was once that innocence was taken from them, that's where the traumatic experience lies, right? So on one hand, yeah, it's easy for you to say that, why wouldn't a person be interested, but you do have to know the person that you're dealing with, because if they've got wounds, that is a trigger for them. You have to be mindful of that. And there's a lot of people who've been sexually assaulted
But
or
Nikki, their
raped.
wounds are not them, though.
Say that again.
Their wounds are not them.
No, but if you're the person if you're the
wo-
person that's with me, then you are responsible for dealing with whatever issues I have regarding sexuality. If you're wanting me to explore something with you that I'm not comfortable exploring. So all I'm saying is, just for a person who may have a larger or a more, exciting, a more colorful sexual appetite, you do have to be, conscientious with the partners that you are going to engage with, because not everybody's down for stuff like that. And they may have reasons for that are beyond just, I don't want to do
Okay,
that.
I get that. What I'm hearing though is, your wounds are not a reason for me to pull back on my sexual nature or desires.
Yes, they should be. If your partner is expressing to you that they're uncomfortable with something.
But that creates a different set of problems, because now I'm withholding from my own personal desires because of your traumas.
Yes. And as my partner, it is your responsibility to figure this out with me. We got to go figure this out. And this person may not have even known that they had an issue until it was addressed, that, hey, let's try this, right? This person may
I
start
agree
to have
and
anxiety
disagree with
behind
that at the
something.
same
They don't
time.
even know what they're having anxiety for.
I
So
can
this is
agree
where
that you could be
a couple have to
sensitive to
go.
another person's issues, but at the same time, your nature, your desires is not going to change just because another person or your partner has a different trauma. Your partner's traumas will not suppress your desires.
They could, if you understand why your partner's so
No, it won't. Just because you say I had a trauma
for you, but for the
experience,
next person,
that
they feel like, hey, I don't want to even touch this because this is a sensitive space for you. Let's try something else.
Let me tell you how I disagree with that, though.
Well, that's fine.
You saying that I had a past trauma with this, that doesn't take away the nature or the desire of me wanting to have something. So, golly, I don't want to get this explicit, but it's simple explicit. So, this happens. This has happened. If there's been a forced sexual trauma, say you were a child and somebody forced you to give them head. Your trauma of being forced to give oral sex to somebody who you had no desire from is completely understandable, but that doesn't take away my desire from wanting oral sex.
Right.
That's my point.
At the same time, however, I can also say that, let's say I'm with a man who, let's say maybe he was molested as a child and got certain parts about his body he does not want to be touched. You don't want to be. So, sure, would I like to maybe touch those places? Sure, I like the body too. But if I know that that's my partner's not safe space, if there's something about that makes my partner not feel okay, I don't need to touch that ever in my life.
You will be sensitive to it, but that doesn't
want to do that never. Like I mean, so there's two ways to go about it.
That's the part where I don't completely agree with. You'll be sensitive to their plight, but that doesn't mean that, okay, so if they were fondle to mess around with and there's certain things that you like, that doesn't mean that just because they had a traumatic experience that you won't want to do it.
Yes, for me, I will, because there's 9,900,000 other sexual things we can do. Cross that off the list. We just try something else. I mean, when
nature, in my opinion.
Well, that's not nature. You can also control your desire too. And again, it's not like you only have 4 things to choose from. In sex, there's 9,150,011 things you can do in sex that are exploratory and like you say freaky and all kind of greatness and just different shit off the wall. Like there's a million things you can do. But if my partner tells me this is not okay for me,
that doesn't shut up. Okay. Oh, so now you don't like it. Well, I no longer have a desire for it now.
I was gonna say I think that's the problem. I agree with Nikki on there's plenty of things to do, right? So if you got a list of 5 and the list should be 100, then we can do that 5. I think we could work around the 5. But to your point, Quentin, that's what I was going to say. A lot of people's problem sometimes with abuse, though, is they'll start out with that the chemical high of the relationship. The first, when you first get in a relationship, the chemical part of it that makes you feel bonded and makes you want to do all these things, that lasts 6 to 24 months. It can last 6 months to 2 years. It's in that period. And a lot of times during that time, people will do all kinds of things that their body actually is not going to be prepared to do once that chemical wears off. And so people will think, oh, this person enjoys having sex. Oh, this person enjoys whatever. But once the chemical high of meeting somebody new and going through that wears off, whatever traumas, whatever you have, your body's gonna come back to equilibrium. And then a lot of times people end up in a relationship with someone that doesn't want to have sex.
But that becomes a problem. That's a problem, Ivory.
I'm going to say that's a huge problem. Not that you don't want to do a few things, but a lot of times people with traumas, once the chemical wears off, they don't want to have sex at all. Or they want to have sex very
does that fall on the person who doesn't enjoy?
That's why relationships break up a lot, though. No,
but that doesn't change the person who has the desire.
No, and you might get left with your traumas, and it's unfortunate.
Well, okay, I agree. That's what we're saying. So I love giving head. I love it. Enjoy it. Absolutely.
Too much info.
If there was a person who had some type of trauma to where it reminded them of something else, I understand it, but that doesn't take away my personal desire to want to do something.
I mean, I can't. I mean, I hear you. That's not how I operate. I don't think I operate that. I don't operate that way. So in those situations, relationally, we need to get some therapy. I need to get some therapy. We need to get some therapy. We got to figure things out because I'm not going to be able to get your
opinion. Definitely need some therapy.
Sure, and that's what usually doesn't happen, right? Then people cheat instead. They're like, "Yeah, we're not going to actually fix the problem. We're just going to go get some more people because I can't calm my penis down. I can't put my vagina away."
And I use myself as an example, but I'm saying anybody.
Right.
If my partner has a desire for something that is a trigger to me, or I don't have a desire for, there is an issue where we need to get some type, because her desire, if it's one, like you said, okay, maybe it ain't in the top 100, but if it's in the top 5, we need to figure out how this is gonna work.
Sure, that's a fair conversation, and that's a mature conversation to have in any relationship dynamic. And if you cannot have that conversation in your relationship, you're in the wrong fucking relationship. It's time to pack up and go because you
So,
have to have
okay,
uncomfortable conversation.
but let me go full circle with this though, and I guess my full circle is just because somebody has some desire that goes outside of traditional sex, that doesn't lessen the importance of it. See, some people think, well, as long as you're getting some, then you all right. No, there could be other kind of supplemental aspects of sex that are equally important to a person as well.
Right.
And if you say, well, I'm still giving it to you, so you're making an assumption. You're trying to diminish the importance of something because it's not important to you, but it could be vitally important to that person.
Right.
So that goes back full circle. That goes back to, when I talked about everybody has some different freak level. Okay, that might be their freak thing. And when you say freak thing, you're just talking about the kind of the aspects of sexual activity outside of direct intercourse. And if you think intercourse is the only thing that gets a person there, no. For some people, it could be different things that they truly put on that same level. If you diminish it, then you miss it, and you also, you gotta like everybody's freak level, whatever you want to call that. Like it's a normal thing, even though it's not your thing. It's still a normal thing.
Right. Right. Right.
That's my thought. Dude, I think I said sex. The last one I had was well, I don't know if this applied to you. I'll put religion, Nikki, is Ivory religion is let me ask either one of y'all, is there anything that if you knew better, you do better from a religious aspect that you could think of?
I think we had this conversation, and I'm gonna say, especially with how I feel right now, absolutely not. Like every part of my journey was a necessary part of my journey, and I've learned so much, and God has known exactly where I needed to be, when, and what I needed to be hearing, and yeah, I love the journey so far. So um, I mean, I think the statement is what it is, right? Like, of course, if I knew something, I would have did something different. Um, and I'm glad I didn't know, because this was the exact journey I was supposed to take. So, yeah.
So Ivory, that sounds like a cop-out answer to me. And that anybody say that, oh yeah, everything that I went through brought me to the place that I am. That's the 101 cop-out answer. What I would tell you is, Ivory, do better. If I would have learned earlier that nobody really knows. You believe, but you don't know. That's what I learned for myself. Oh, I'm assertive in what I believe. And I'll tell you what I believe. But if you ask me to prove it or tell you I don't know anything. And me, that one statement and the one acceptance of me saying, I don't know. This is what I believe, but I don't know. That has brought me further along in my life than anything else that I can tell you. Had I adopted that earlier, then maybe possibly I'd been further along earlier in life, because what I realized is nobody knows. You don't know.
Oh, okay. So to that point, I can say this, so I don't give a cop-out answer. I'm still going to come back to a cop-out, but I'll start with this. I wish I knew earlier that me and God was good all the time, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
That like we in relationship, right, and like ups, downs, hills, valleys, whatever, I didn't need to feel disconnected or lost ever. Like that we were good. So I'm saying that, like, if I knew better, then I definitely would have moved with more confidence, would have had more peace, would have cried a lot less. So, but on the flip side of that, sometimes I think, man, I take my relationship with God really, really seriously. And I see people who start with that mindset, and sometimes they just seem like they don't. So I don't even know if I would change that. So, I mean, I feel like that's what I would say, but I don't know.
So, and maybe that's not the way to look at it, but with the information that you've received, you would have responded differently. So maybe you received that information at this point in time. Had you received that information earlier, then you would have made those adjustments earlier in life. I think that's all the same.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Nikki, you want to add anything?
I have no regrets as far as religion in my life. Ain't nothing I should have knew better, do better. I'm grateful, very, very grateful for how I was raised, what I was raised around, what I was not raised with. You know, I'm our relationship with God is great too, right? I'm very good on that tip. I don't wish I would have been religious. I don't wish I would have, I don't wish my parents would have done anything differently in that department. Than what has had. And you know, so Easter Sunday, right? Like I got my kids laundry baskets and filled them with shit, like practical shit, right? My Easter baskets are still in storage, so I was not going to get them and I was not buying more. So I was like, I'll just get these little $1.97 laundry baskets and start throwing some shit in there that the kids need or whatever. So I found like the only chocolate left on the aisle at the grocery store was chocolate Hershey crosses, right? These big old huge chocolate crosses. So I look at these crosses and I was like, well, shit, that's what it's gonna be. And I laugh, right? So I put them in their baskets. And my daughter's best friend had come over Easter Sunday, and she had her two littles with her. They're 6 and 7. And the son, he's running by the kitchen table and he sees the laundry baskets on the table with the Easter candies, and he of course sees the big huge chocolate cross because he's fiending for candy. He's trying to find some more candy. And he's like, well shit, if the kids ain't gonna eat their candy, I'm like, dog, they just got it this morning. Like, hold on. But he sees the Easter cross, the chocolate cross, and he was like, oh, he was like, Nikki. And he picks it up and he shows it to me, and he was like, oh, yeah, cross in here. It's like for Easter. And I was like, yeah, baby. But I said, honestly, for us, it's a joke. I said, my kids know that this is humor coming from me. This is a comical thing, right? As is the sour pickle balls I have in the Easter basket. I said, it's comical. And he was so bothered by that. And he looks at me and he was like, well, you should give it to Lyric. It's my nephew. You should give it to Lyric because he believes in God as Jesus. He believes in that. So just give it to him. And I was like, oh, this poor baby. It was just so cute. And it was so cute and it was so comical. And, my kids laughed. We all thought it was hilarious, but it just made me sit back and think about how this little boy's relationship is, with God, because that's what was done unto him. And here he is talking to a 46-year-old woman who's just trying to gently say, we don't all believe the same things, bro. That's it. That's all. So no, I wouldn't do anything different. I don't chastise my children into believing the same way I do. They've all been told if they want to explore a relationship and have the God conversation and the Bible conversation and all those things, we make that happen too.
Right.
But no, I'm okay with where it is.
And I don't force my children into it's weird. I don't force my children into God either. And some of it's a little strange for me because that wasn't the way I was brought in. I actually operate a lot differently than how I was brought in. I think I take more of a free thinker mindset. I want my children to learn and decide for themselves. Even when the pandemic happened, and we had stopped going to church and I just started watching church online, And we passed the church one day. I'm like, hey, I said, do y'all miss going to church? And they was like, yeah, we miss. They told me that they miss going to church. I was like, oh, okay, say less. We're going back to church then. But that wasn't even something that I felt pressed to put upon them. But I feel conflicted about that just because of my background versus what I'm actually. It makes me wonder, like, am I properly set? I mean, that's always a question you have. Are you doing the right things for your kids? But I'm very much like you, Nikki. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love the way I grew up. I love being a church boy, a church kid. I love the culture. Even as much as I criticize it, I love the culture. I love the way that we grew up.
Nikki, Quinn loves church more than me. I don't.
Keep trying to act like he don't. He like to.
I know. I say I do.
Now listen.
So what I say is, the reason I could be that critical of it is because that I appreciate it and I see the value in it.
You really appreciate church.
But that gives me, in my opinion, that gives me the right to criticize it even more so.
Yeah, but also you got to realize that there's a part of you that's just going to be innately biased just by default.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
perfect example, Nikki. If I had the choice to come back as any other thing as a black man, which is maybe arguably between a black man and a black woman, some of the most despised things on the face of this earth, I wouldn't come back as nothing else but a black man. You couldn't pay me to come back as a white man, even though I know the privileges, I know all of this. No, there's nothing else I want to be other than a black man. I love it. I mean, love it to the core.
Right.
I can't even let the words come out of my mouth that I come back as anything else.
Right.
So I don't know, and some people that would sound crazy. Some people like, why would, out of all the people in the world, why would you want to come back as a black man or a black woman again? I'm like, I love it.
Right. And you should
love it.
You should. You absolutely should. And you should.
No. Free thinker. Free thinker, Nikki. Why would I love that? There's no real reason for me to love coming back as a black man. It's the bottom of the totem pole. So why would I actually want to come back as a black man? There's no real reason behind that.
I could think of
like there's not a logical reason behind it.
I know what you're saying, but I also can't answer that question, right? I can only answer that question.
Logically speaking, if you wanted to get ahead in this life, in this world,
right,
the best way possible to get the best head start, you wouldn't come back as a black man.
No, I mean, in theory, who the fuck wants to
do it 100 out of 100 times?
Who the fuck really wants to be
99? I might come back as a black woman once out of the.
White men don't even want to be white men. Most white people. I mean, I love me as who I am, and I feel like me in this skin serves my purpose for what I need to serve my purpose. But I wouldn't vote to come back as a fucking white person either. Like, it just isn't a very likable. It just isn't a very likable human space to fall in. And you know how I feel about it. You know how I feel about it.
You have a larger population than black people. You have a higher pay scale. You get treated differently by authority. Like all of these things, there's no reason for me not to want to come back as a white man or a woman, but I wouldn't do it.
Make money your last question, because I do got one for that.
Okay, let's go, because we need to. We had 2 hours. What's the last question, so we get out of here?
If I knew better, I would have known that money equals freedom, time, freedom, power to choose. And I don't feel like I was told. I feel like I had to find out, and it would have been nice to find out faster.
Right. That's something I caught the concept of that. I remember we were at TJ and they had some career day, Ivory. And they had a lawyer come speak to us, and they talked about, oh yeah, you can make this amount of money. And sometimes we work 60, 70, 80 hours. I said, why would I want to work 80 hours a week? For, like, to me, the amount of money that they were talking about they made did not suffice for the amount of time they were giving up for that money. So I clearly remember in the 7th grade, I was like, yeah, no, money is not worth everything if I have to give up all of my time.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point, I've always said this, even since then, I said money equates to time. The only reason I desire money is to open up my freedom of time. That's literally the only reason I want money.
Well, and this is the concept too, because for me, money is not just time, but you need to know what money means for you, right?
Right.
So I do like some time, but I'm really big about choices. Like, no one told me the less money you make, the less choices you have.
Right.
Choices about where you live, choices about where your kids go to school,
Go to
choice
school.
like
Mm-hmm.
your choices.
Right.
Other people, when you don't have money, other people are constantly making choices for you in the
Mm-hmm.
background. And then the
True.
more money you make, the more choices you get to make about what happens with your own life. And I don't feel like that message was communicated to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. And I agree with all of those. Just my first thing is
Your thing's time.
Freedom of time. Every day that I go to work, and I every day that I wake up before the sun comes up, and I get back home right before the sun goes down. Literally every day I think about how much time did I miss with my family. If I wasn't working this 40, 50 hours, if my wife wasn't working this 40, 50 hours, what's the amount of time? Instead of waiting for the weekend to get a couple hours to spend with your family, what would that time look like if I had that availability every day? I think about that every day.
See, and that right there is
all we got is time, and the more time you got, the more memories you have the ability to make.
That sentiment right there is why I strive really hard to maintain being at peace with where I am financially. I am not poor because I pay all of the fucking bills by myself. So I can make enough money to pay all the bills. And I pay a lot of fucking money in my monthly bills and utilities, right? I don't have any help. So I'm okay with my place. I don't have extra money. I can't go on vacation. I damn near was able to do my son's birthday party, 2 weeks ago. But thankfully I was able to hustle because that's what I do, and was able to come up with a couple extra $100 to make sure that he was able to have a good birthday. I couldn't have done that last month. So everything happens the way it's supposed to. I stress out, of course, about money because I'm just one emergency away from I don't fucking know. However, I'm home every day. I take them to school. I pick them up. I'm here at night. I'm home on the weekends, unless I've got gigs, of course. And I've been able to do this their whole entire lives. I've never been essentially a for real stay at home mom. I was with my middle son for a long period of time, but for the most part, I've never missed a school event. There's a lot of things I've never missed because I've been able to have that flexibility. Had I been grinding 60 hours a week corporate, had I been working somewhere 60 hours a week, and having two jobs, 3 jobs, which I have now, but I'm able to do it in a way where it works for me. I'm poor, I'm broke, I don't have any fucking money left over at the end of the day, but I am always here with them. So I know I'm not rich in dollars, but I've also been able to take my experience and try to grow this into my son about that we're going to take what I have and we're going to go 50 fucking miles forward with this. We're going to take what we have and I'm going to do all the things in you that I was not able to do in me. I can't restart my credit. I can't restart my financial ticker. I'm not going back to school and I'm never going to make, 6 digits a year. That's not going to happen. And I don't care about that, but they can, they will, and they are. Right. So they've been able to see my grind and my hustle work on this level that there's no reason that they can't still figure out how to make those two things happen and coincide, where when it comes time to having a family, they can delegate or they can decide I'm gonna work for myself. I'm not gonna work for somebody else. or I'll run 2 businesses, make sure that my wife can stay home and be with our children, whatever the case may be. My dad spent a lot of time away from home because he's running the office. And I realized that that's what that took. But at the same time, we were never short our dad. He was there every weekend. He was there every night. Everything that we needed to marry together, we married together. So it always worked out. I've got a family member who used to always try to kind of get down on me for not having, furthered my education and gotten a state job where I can, retire after, so long and have benefits and all these great, 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 great things. And I'm like, yeah, but you hate your life. I don't even like how your life is set up. I don't want, but she has a nice car and they've got a lot of fucking money and they've got investments and they're really, really well to do. And then there's this poor broke ass single mom me, who just ain't got a damn pot to piss in, but I do. I got a really nice house and I have phenomenal children and phenomenal relationships with them. So I'm okay with that. I don't regret the financial mishaps. And I don't even have I don't even have any bad credit, essentially. I just don't have any because I wasn't willing to do certain things and and so on and so forth. But we were not taught financial literacy very well either to know how to maximize our opportunities.
Right.
So that's definitely something I do with my children. All of these things I definitely incorporate into my parenting with my children.
Do 206 any I think we got it all. We got most of it through. Any last thoughts or words or final thoughts?
No, I just like the statement, man. If you knew better, you do better. So then do. Either be about that shit or shut up. You knew better, do better. That's it.
So the only thing I say towards that is my last that we didn't get into what I stand on, or I guess what my banner is more than anything is, I don't know if I use the term pragmatism a lot of times. And when you talk about know better versus do better, for me, it's not just about information. Information is lesser than personal experience. So when somebody asks me, why do I do a certain thing? Why do I follow a certain thing? I'm beyond the point of information in itself doesn't help you or do anything if it doesn't motivate you to change. But and information in a vacuum is not always relatable. You can give me information that makes sense, that's good to know, but it doesn't apply to me. And it doesn't help more than the practical experience of living through a thing and learning through life experiences. That's what I follow. So when it comes to money, when it comes to dealing with my children, even when it comes to religion, I don't blindly follow religion or Christianity. There's a lot of things I disagree with and I condemn, but there's certain things that I've lived and the practical application of it I've experienced through life, which is why I don't throw it away.
Right.
When it comes to relationships, there's practical elements of it that I've lived that I'm not going to do away with, because I've seen what happens when you get too emotional with women too often, and you're crying and sobbing all the time, and like, that's not something that I just made up. That's something that I've seen or I've experienced. So when it comes to, like I said, pragmatism, based upon my experiences, then I come with an outcome versus just someone giving me information. And oftentimes a lot of people, especially doing podcasts, and people think you know a lot, or people think that you're analytical. I have so much stuff, people, and Nikki probably get this too. I get so much stuff that post and clips that people send me in my DMs all the time because they think that I'd be interested in it. And I'm really not, sorry. It's good information.
All
Some
day.
of it's good information, but if I can't apply it, and if I cannot or have not applied it in my day-to-day life, then it doesn't carry the same weight for me. And it'll never carry more weight than the things that I've lived through versus something that you're telling me this sounds good.
Right.
So that's where I am with that. All right,
Oh,
well,
I'll add
guys,
in.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I think me and you talked about this, Quentin. You can know something, but I'm working on the things I know, a heart, brain, body connection. You need more than just knowing. You have to get your heart aligned with that knowing, your body aligned with that knowing. Like it has to leave your head, get into your bones. You have to really start to feel it in a way that you can walk it out every day. So that would be my last encouragement, is to wake up and do more than know it, like feel it in your heart that's what you can be.
And don't get, because golly, especially in social media, it's tens of thousands of clips that's saying things that sound good to you.
Right.
Especially when it comes to relationships. They got a whole bunch of stuff that sound good. If you've applied it in your life, how's that working out for you? When they tell you, you got to be the boss and you ain't got to compromise with nobody and you got to find somebody like that. How has that actually worked out for you in real life? People say stuff that sounds good and it intrigues your flesh or your ego. But how has that actually worked out for you? How, in the experiences that you've seen either with your parents or your siblings, how has that mindset actually worked out for the people that you know? Think about that. Pragmatism. Before you start sending stuff to people, oh, that sounds good, and that it fits the mode of thought and operation that you're already feeling. But ask yourself, my mode of thought of what I think and what I feel, where has this got me thus far? I'm not going to even go that deep into that, but anyway, all right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in and rocking with us. Keep in mind, next week we will be live in person. So if you are in the Austin area, make sure that you check us out. We will give you details on the location. We have such a good time in person. Great conversations and great food. That's all I can tell you. And it's an experience. That's all I can tell you. You want to be a part of it. There's, as much as we enjoy being live, on this podcast and on streaming, it's different in person. That's all I can say. We started in person. And when we go back and meet in person, it's just a different vibe. So if you think this is something, then rock with us. Come with us in person, and you'll see it's an experience that you will not forget. So anything you want to add to that, Nikki, before we jump off?
Leave your triggers at the door. Bring your credit card with you. Make sure that you buy up some food. Bring a chair with you. It is BYOB. It is, we are adults, refreshments friendly. That does not mean that if you don't drink or you don't smoke, that you're not welcome to come. Certainly you are more than welcome to come, but it is adult only. It is this times about 50. So it's the it's the free thinkers after dark versions. And that doesn't mean that we just have like super spicy conversations. It's just people are so much more open to say what they really, really think when they know nobody else is really watching. So it is a great opportunity to get some real raw shit off your chest, have some very raw conversations with sometimes pure strangers.
We have a whole group and community of people who won't get on live but show up at the live meeting. So we have a whole group of people who show up live that you never see on the streaming.
And they be talking in person, boy. They got a whole lot to say in person. So next Tuesday, we'll be up at the food truck, Dirty Glove Midwest Barbecue. It's right off of 35 and Howard Lane, so it's North Austin. Same time, 8:05. We go till Q. We'll call the meeting at 9:30. We generally go. We usually stay and hang out a while. You don't have to. Bring a friend. Just don't bring no children and leave your triggers at the door. We'll see y'all next Tuesday. Whatever topic we do in person, we'll always follow up with our online folks too. So we'll never have a topic in person that we don't do on here. Or we take topics that we do here live and we share it with our in-person people as well. So we'll definitely make sure that whatever topic we hit, we'll discuss with you guys too. But that's it. We'll see y'all next Tuesday. Have a good night.
Good night.